Well, it's over. One of the most painful seasons in NFL Oakland Raiders history has come to arguably an equally painful end. The Raiders were blown out by the Raiders were blown out by Pickett. The Raiders were blown out by a number of teams. Patriots. Hey, the latest, the LA Chargers. I wanted to say the San Diego Chargers, but I got confused for a bit because I think they should be the San Diego Chargers, just as the Oakland Raiders are the Oakland Raiders. But the Oakland Raiders played in very uncharacteristic Oakland Raider fashion because, hey, Del Rio, yeah, Del Rio's gone. As First Tar says, yay, Del Rio gone. Happy New Year, everybody. Literally. Jimmy T says, make the Raiders great again. Elect Gruden 2018. Kurt Flirt says, they must have gotten some kind of headway with Gruden. Kurt, I doubt it. I really doubt it. I'm just being honest. But can we just kind of recap this game? Some of you are like, no! But I just want to talk about this game in this season because this was the season that some people picked the Raiders to, hey, go to the Super Bowl, right? I mean, we had the Raiders versus the Vikings in a replay, some of us, not me, of Super Bowl 11. We had all kinds of things. Look, Saints clinched the NFC South title, by the way, because here's how weird things get at the end of the season. The Buccaneers beat the Saints in a dramatic game that saw Jameis Winston gut out one of those performances where normally his defense fails him, but the defense held the Saints off just enough for him, in spite of his own 3 interceptions, to come back and win. All right? And Jacksonville gets in the playoffs beating, of all people, Tennessee gets in the playoffs beating, of all people, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who really kind of don't care. But in the process, the Ravens were supposed to beat the Bengals, but they didn't at home, didn't get it done, lost. And we sit on the outside, quite literally looking in. At the tail end, even the 49ers, at the tail end of a butt kicking, even the 49ers kicked the Rams' butt. And the Rams are still in the playoffs, but the way the Eagles look, we may be smart to pencil in the NFC Championship game as the Vikings versus the Rams. Forget the Eagles, all right? 30-10. I mean, you'd think that, all right? And Kurt First says, Jameis Winston has skills. He just gets too anxious and makes dumb plays. I think the offense that he plays in is such that any quarterback would be interception prone. Take a look at others who played in it. Look at Matt Ryan, for example. Corvette says, didn't think Del Rio would be let go today, but better get it done with. Kurt First says, Jameis Winston has got that one. Crawford says, sounds like Vegas is falling apart. Yeah. And Vegas is falling apart. Unless there's some news today that I didn't read. It's cold here in Chicago. It's record cold here. Near record cold here in Chicago. In fact, it's record cold in New York, too. It's 13 degrees. Coldest it's ever been in New York since 1962, the year I was born. Zenny 62, right? But, okay. The Raiders have had this penchant. Oh, by the way, it's too bad Barry Lee isn't here. If anyone is on Twitter, please tweet this out. I'm going to tweet this out again just to announce to everybody that we are round and talking, But, and while I do that, hold on a second, I just want to say NFL. And I know I said earlier in the week that I hadn't planned a regularly scheduled, live stream, which generally includes this time, well, actually a little later, but I changed my mind because I like to do these game enders. I didn't think the time would work out in my favor, and it did. So here we are. Steve Macy, how you doing? Philosopher King, how you doing? Philosopher King says, Chucky incoming. Steve Macy says, if the Raiders do a few interviews before hiring Gruden, can they avoid the Rooney Rule? Yes. Yes, they can. That's how you do it. You make the interviews. You know, that's how you do it. But see, this is what happened, and I know this. Yeah, Corvette, the Ravens did blow it. Now, my friend Melissa, who you saw on my live stream casts, went to the game. All right, so I'm dying to see what she thought of. And Steve Macy says, I don't get that. Steve, you put as. Is that a typo? Oh, and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, too. Kerford says, Buffalo will get destroyed real quick. Hey, did you see what happened with LaShawn McCoy? Wow. Now, folks, while we're talking about the Raiders, before, and Muflar says, if you think Gruden isn't the coach, then who? Well, you have to remember something. John hasn't said he's going to do it yet. But we've been in this position before. We thought Gruden was going to come back. I've seen this before. People, I don't know if it's because of the internet and social media and the quite literal lightning speed bombardment that society faces with this deluge of information, but people tend to forget we have been this road before. And I'm suddenly, as I think about it, not convinced that John can get it done. I'm not convinced. I like John as a person. I know him, gave him plays, great guy. But I'm not convinced that he is the answer. Now, that said, if the Raiders brought him in, let me rephrase this. If he said yes, because the Raiders clearly want him, if he said yes, it would be huge. Okay, it would be huge. But it hasn't happened yet. So I'm only trying to temper your expectations, folks. Now, here's the thing. I thought that maybe the Raiders would do a press conference because, they usually say something, right? But, in fact, we have latest news on the Raider. It says Raiders fail in finale to Los Angeles. But it doesn't say Jack Del Rio fired. It says head coach Del Rio closes out in week 17 practice. Right here it is. Jack Del Rio announces he will not return as head coach. Right there. There it is. Jack Del Rio announces he will not return as head coach. All right. So let's see. He made the announcement himself. Wow. So let's hear what he had to say here. I like Jack. I feel sorry for him. Didn't get it done. Great guy. But hey, the NFL stands for not for long, right? Let's see. All right. Here it comes, folks. Here it comes. He's even glassy-eyed.
I feel like today was a microcosm of our year.
Another long touchdown pass. Travis Benjamin, 62 yards.
Not good enough. Really kind of disappointing. That's what our year was. Disappointing. So.
Do you hear this?
Spoke with Mark Davis after the game, and Mark let me know that he's not going to be bringing me back. And so he told me, loved me, and appreciated all that I did to kind of get
right
the
here.
program going in the right direction.
Here.
And so he told me, loved me, and appreciated all. Disappointing. So spoke with Mark Davis after the game, and Mark let me know that he's not going to be bringing me back. And so he told me, loved me, and appreciated all that I did to kind of get this program going in the right direction, but that he felt the need to change. I told him how much I appreciated the opportunity he gave me, and I mean that. Very grateful. My childhood team. But it's a results business. I understand that. So, I appreciate the players and coaches and all the hard work, all the effort and energy. I do believe that we have established a solid nucleus. I believe whoever comes in here has a chance to take that nucleus and go to special places and not be pulling for them. So, if you have any quick questions, be happy to answer them, but appreciate if you keep it kind of brief.
That's sad. I mean, you know what?
I honor the owner's decision. Like I said,
Jack, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
a great honor for me to lead this organization, to get this opportunity. I understand it's a results business. We had a great first 2 years, and this year was a big disappointment, and I can't disagree with that.
That's sad. I have to say I feel sorry for Jack because I always regarded him as a nice person, and I thought, I don't have anything negative to say about him. I thought that he he really, and that was it. You didn't miss much beyond that, okay? I thought Jack. I don't think that Jack was done in by his coordinators. I think what did Jack in ultimately is he didn't establish a vision for the team. I know that's a broken record from me, but now I'm sure Jack would disagree with this, but when I say a vision, what does your team look like, and then how do you get the right people to make that vision a reality? And my sense was that Jack was almost grasping for straws in a sense. I mean, it was a combination of players, and then if a coach, he didn't get along with the coach properly or didn't like the coach's personality, he got rid of him. There was too much of that in the Raider organization, and you have the general manager not liking a head coach, and this person doesn't like that person, or that person doesn't like that person. At some point, you got to settle them down and be professionals and move forward as one. They didn't do that, okay? So I want to get your comments. Barry Lee, hey, Barry Lee, tweet out, if you can, please, Raider Nation. Barry says he had to know it was coming. Well, if you hear from your own agent, Bob Lamont, that another client of yours, John Gruden, is being considered or pursued by the Oakland Raiders to be head coach, that tells you all you need to know right there. And Crawford says the NFL needs to adopt a rule that prohibits teams from firing head coaches until 2 days after the season ends. Doing that right after the game is kind of slimy. And also, I think it cheats the fans of the team. And the players too, because how do you feel if you're the player of the Raiders, knowing your head coach is gone, you're already not going anywhere, and you also know that you have an opportunity, if you beat the Chargers, to just on your own keep them out of the playoffs without relying on anyone else. But then you hear, hey, your head coach is going to be fired, so it's kind of like, oh, there's no momentum, right? So I agree with that. Varson says, why did Jack Del Rio get fired? I'll get to that in a second. Kevin KD says, hey, Zinni, that kind of favoritism and subsequent personnel strife. By the way, York, Balky, and John Harbaugh calls the downfall of Kaepernick in the 49ers defense. Yeah, I agree with you there. And I have nothing but love for Jed York, and I'm absolutely certain Jed's a good man. There are a number of episodes during that period he would love to have back. Crawford says, I got Crawford's comment. Kevin KD says, man, thinking about Mark Jackson has me feeling down right now. And you should, because Jack Del Rio is a good man. He's a good man who I think deserves a better shot. But on the other hand, we can't feel too sorry for him because he's made $3.5 million a year for 3 years, plus whatever bonuses he's accumulated because of his contract. And he's got a great future in his family with his son playing quarterback at Florida, who I met when he was a little boy. Wonderful family. And Jack is rich in a lot of ways that, I think are incredible. So, but this is his second stint as head coach, and if you think about the arc, right? You start off okay, do well, and then you falter. He did the same thing again. He had the same arc Jack Del Rio did in terms of wins and losses with the Raiders as he did with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Except with the Raiders, is almost perfect. He started 6-10 and he finished 6-10. So, Miller says, any chance Raiders court Shaw from Stanford? I think they should try for him. I think the worst anyone can say is no. Jimmy T says what Crawford also said, I believe. He says, I think this is a classic example, and Kevin KD, a Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr situation where Del Rio got the Raiders back to relevance and Gruden could take them to the next level. Just like John came in and did that with Tony Dungy, all except there's a difference. There was a clear voice difference between Dungy and Gruden then. Now I think it's less that than John understands how to construct an offense. Understood. I'm still concerned about how much he has. Well, you know what? With that fired football coaches association he has there, where he's able to tutor young college players, maybe, but it would be exciting to have John Gruden back. Again, I'm just tempering my expectations. I'm tempering them. So, Philosopher King says his coordinators did him in. Again, I responded to this earlier, but since it popped up again, I'll say this. I still think it was his lack of vision that did him in. And so, Jacob Rivera says, does that mean his assistants are gone too? Yep. Oh, yeah, everybody. Hey, when the head coach is gone, everybody's gone with him. It's not like, generally it is up to the Raiders because some people are retained, but commonly the people who are retained are lower level staff. Corvette says, good luck to Del Rio, but time to move on. Kevin KD says, Jack Del Rio in Indy. By the way, Mayfield to Indianapolis? Don't know. Barson says, Del Rio even got Jags to the playoffs in 2007. Right. And then the next year he didn't. That's what I'm saying. It's like he comes in, does a not so good job the first year, gets you to the playoffs the second year, but then the third year he falters again. And now, I thought changing offensive coordinators at first was a good thing, only because with a change in offensive coordinators, you get a change in tendency, right? But I didn't expect them to just all but toss what Bill Musgrave installed, and that's pretty much what they did. So, yeah, I think the Colts will look at Del Rio. Jack will get another job, either as defensive coordinator or head coach. He will get another job. Jake Guerrero says the defensive coordinator was putting in work. Well, everybody's putting in work. In both coordinators were working. But you have to remember, that defense was not Ken Norton Jr.'s or John Pagano's. It was Del Rio's. And so out with Del Rio goes the defense. And to that I say, yes! Because it was the scheme that was getting him into trouble. It wasn't the coordinators. It was the scheme. It was Del Rio's scheme. Okay? And he wouldn't get rid of it. So it's like, oh, it's driving me crazy to watch the thing. It's like, no. And then watching the film just made it worse. It's like, dude, you're getting hooked. Talking about the outside linebacker being blocked by the tight end. Getting hooked is when you're held up like this and you can't get outside to stop the end run, right? I don't mean held like, holding. But I mean just blocked. And go on and on and on. Or number 40, one of the defensive backs of the Raiders against the Titans standing there. He should have come in, outside contained, stopped Mariota in his tracks. Instead, he let Mariota run right by him, chasing the fullback on a dime play that's not even, if the defense is designed correctly, which means he's taught correctly, that assignment is not his. He has no business fishing up the middle. Yet he goes fishing up the middle, and Mariota goes right by him. I'm like, who told you to do that? Because, you know what? Somebody told him either they didn't tell him not to do that, okay? Or they told him, or they didn't cover that. They left him out in space, and it looked like it. I could have a field day talking about the problems of the Raiders' defense, and it wasn't Del Rio or Pagano. It wasn't Norton or Pagano. It was Del Rio. Kevin KD says, was it Reggie who took Carrion instead of Cam Robinson? Yes, it was. It was. And he says, it's a shame because Crabtree can play. Yep. Fixed Post, I just read that Crabtree is as good as gone. He's been causing problems off the field. Yeah, but I hear he's got a great Proudy in San Francisco after the games in Oakland. Crawford is reminding us what I've been saying. Gruden did not get the job yet. Not only that, hey, is anyone checking on the situation at Tampa? Are they? I mean, they won, but I'm wondering if I'm waiting for that shoe to drop, and the Buccaneers to say, hey, we want, hey, we're going to fire Dirk Carter. Amen Forever says, maybe out of left field, but do you think Mike Shanahan could come back to the Raiders if Gruden isn't the choice? I always felt Mike Shanahan wanted back in the league. Well, yeah, but my thought about Shanahan is that, I mean, it's a possibility, but I don't know that Shanahan's bedside manner is something that works with a modern NFL player. So, and I would think that Davis would have some concern with that. And I would be surprised if Mike Shanahan were at the top of a short list of coaches. I think Mark Davis, again, needs to establish a vision and he needs to find the coaches that fit it. And if he wants to, if his vision includes a deep passing game that's effective, I say again that he should at least sit down with Kevin Sumlin, the former coach of Texas A&M, who is Jenny Manziel's coach. Montez Amoya says Jack is gone, then everyone is gone except for Mike Tyson, maybe one or two more guys. Yep. And Flash of Thunder says Gruden should stay away from drafting. Let Reggie do the drafting if Gruden gets there. Kevin KD says, oh man, Shanahan. I would pay money to see that. See what? The fight or the coach? Kevin KD says, will they pay Shanny the $100,000 they owe him? That's actually taken care of by Mark Davis. He came in and cleared that up. So we've got Kevin. I got that one. Just trying to go through, make sure I get your comments here. And Kevin KD says, or Kevin Sumlin. Jimmy T says, Gannon as quarterback coach would be awesome. Kevin KD says Pep Hamilton, and I say, ding. I think Pep Hamilton would make a fantastic coach. Michael Baldino says, as a Cowboys fan, I respect Raider fans. Staying loyal to a team that has been as historically bad as they have is awesome. Is awesome. Marcellus Thomas, hey Marcellus, how you doing? Is the rumor that Gannon was asked by Gruden to be his quarterback coach? I don't know. Shake says I should be Raiders head coach, offensive coordinator, quality control coach. Sure. Head coach is more administrative. I want to create things. I want to be the fix-it guy on offense. Jim Caldwell is presumed out in Detroit, same as John Fox. Wow. And I thought Caldwell did a great job, though. And that organization, to me, has to decide what kind of nucleus it wants to have of players and then pay to maintain it. They had a Nottingham Soon, arguably the greatest defensive tackle of our era, active, and they let him go to Miami. And they should have moved a mountain to keep him there in Detroit and then built the defense around him. Then I believe that match between Sue on defense as the anchor and the leader, and then Matt Stafford on offense as the leader at quarterback, that organizational center would have led them to the playoffs this year. I firmly believe that. Taking Sue out of Detroit, I thought, was just like ripping their own heart out. So, and that was not Caldwell's fault. That was not his call. Okay. So sometimes, head coaches get done in by their GMs, like with Hugh, right? Hey, welcome to Zenny62, folks, on a sad day, in a sense. So I say in a sense because Jack Del Rio announces he will not return as head coach. And I want to say this to Coach Del Rio. Yeah, Coach, you're a class act, and I hope you, and I know you will, come back to the league very quickly, probably just in a couple of days, if not by the end of the week. And you got a great family, and you do a lot of great things for the community. You've done a lot of great things through your scholarship and your program, your foundation at your Hayward High Foundation. So keep your head up and keep your faith in God intact, and everything will fall into place faster than you realize. So, man, thank you for doing a great job for the Silver and Black. It wasn't enough, but hey, you know, you do what you can do, right? So anyway, Crawford says Hugh Jackson called a timeout when the quarter was already to end. Varsa says Bruce Arians will step away from Arizona. Okay, so we've got, let's see, who's going to hire Jack Del Rio in the head coaching capacity? I do think Indianapolis is a possibility. I think he certainly has to be considered for that, because at the very least, you cannot argue, regardless of the outcome, that Jack Del Rio did not field a perennially competitive team, unlike the Browns. Okay, so he's got, he's got some, as they say, skins on the wall to point to, like the playoffs and the tutelage of Derek Carr's quarterback, among other things. And, so Michael says, how about Tampa if the Gruden rumors are real? I would see, in the case of Tampa, for just, this is my gut, not my intellect, my gut. My gut sees Jack Del Rio as defensive coordinator there rather than head coach. But, yeah, he could be considered a head coaching candidate there too as well. I'm waiting for them to pull the trigger. So it's funny how you all feel like vultures, like we're waiting. Dun dun dun. The stare of impending death. Come on. Anyway, Lions and Browns are the same team. I don't see how the Lions and Browns are the same team. Where's that coming from? The Lions and Browns can't be the same team because the Browns never had a Nanakum Sue, let alone a Matt Stafford. So saying the Lions and Browns are the same team, I'm sorry to say this, Tara, that's a really ridiculous comment. And if you're basing it on the fact that they both have black head coaches, that's really stupid, and it's racist. So Matt Patricia is considered a top candidate for the Lions. I don't see Matt. Why? What does Matt Patricia know? He's another guy that worked for Bill Belichick, who was successful for Belichick. But, okay, how many, unlike Bill Parcells, how many coaches who worked for Bill Belichick came away as perennial Super Bowl contending head coaches? Can you think of one? I mean, there's Josh McDaniels had a number of stints, had Miami, and then Denver. He didn't do anything. And all right, who am I missing? Okay, am I missing anything here? Look, Bill O'Brien. Look at the Texans and Bill O'Brien. All right, what is it? All right, okay. Anybody? As Kevin KD just wrote, none from the Belichick tree. What? Right. So why continue to draw from a well that comes up dry? That doesn't make any sense to me. Does someone want to tell me otherwise? So, 32SN says Jack Del Rio's record. And so, yeah, but Jack Del Rio wasn't a Belichick disciple. Unless I'm missing something you said earlier. Michael Baldino says, I personally like hiring college coaches instead of coordinators. I do too. And I like hiring a college coach because you get an innovative way of thinking, right? Varson says, do you think my Dolphins should fire Adam Gase? No. They just got him. Right? So you want to fire him and you just got the guy? So, nah. All right? 32 says Gruden 4 division titles, 5 playoff wins, 1 Super Bowl win, JDR, Jack Del Rio, 0 division titles, 1 playoff win, and 0 Super Bowls. And Jimmy T says Hugh Jackson should get fired, 1-31, passed up on Wentz, Goff, and Deshaun Watson in the draft, can't develop Kaiser properly. That's a stinging indictment, but hey, it's hard to argue against that. However, except I will add this. Overall, I think Hugh has been cursed by not having supportive general managers on his side. That was true of the Raiders, and it's true of the Browns. They let go of Shashi Brown. So here, Kevin KD says, in fairness to JDR, he had Peyton Manning. He had the Peyton Manning-led Colts in the same division for years. He did. 32 Assassin says, 93 and 94, 1-3 in the playoffs, division titles. Kevin KD says that's why 0 division championships. And Vicen is right. Kaiser does have potential. He does. Great potential. And, I mean, again, they just got him. Oh, and so, thanks, Kevin KD. I went up looking for other comments, and Kevin KD wrote, Zinni, I think he means their sordid losing history. Ding! Got it. All right. So, Michael Bellino says he had success with a franchise cornerback in Oakland. That would be kind of cool to see what he could do in Tampa. And Philosopher King says Adam Schefter is reporting that Gruden is the next Raiders head coach. Whoa, let's see here. So it's sealed. Adam Schefter, what Mark Davis says, has informed he will no longer coach the Raiders. Let's go to ESPN. And ESPN. So, let's see here. Wild finish, Browns. I'm looking at the ESPN website. I don't see it yet. Maybe I should go to the NFL website. Breaking news. Raiders fired Del Rio after 3 seasons. Yep. And, okay. Let's see here. We got that one. Now, they must be just writing this. Jack Del Rio is fired. Raiders Derek Carr paid price for switching out wrong coordinator last offseason. Aha. So basically, they're blaming, ESPN is blaming the coordinator switch on Derek Carr. So, let's see here. Let's go to Twitter, get off of this one, and see if Gruden is definitely coming back here. Because if Gruden's coming back, I think what I might do is switch out. Hey, just after 3 weeks after its release, Star Wars The Last Jedi has cleared 1 billion. Whew. All right, Happy New Year, everybody. Feliz Navidad. Now, let's put John Gruden. John Gruden Raiders. John Gruden Raiders. Report Raiders set to pursue former coach John Gruden. Okay. Well, let's see here. Latest. It's Jay Gruden. Raiders. Okay, this is not confirmed. It just says Raiders fire coach Jack Del Rio, opening door for possible return of John Gruden. Read. And to make room for John Gruden, breaking the Raiders have fired head coach. Yeah. And then Paulie says there'll be 2. Now, Bill Romanowski says a tough decision that had to be made by Mark Davis. If John Gruden is the head coach, the Raiders will be in the Super Bowl next year, Raider Nation. What I've done, and I went to Twitter, and I'm like a hawk. I'm saying, hey, now, got to think John Gruden, right? John Gruden, everyone's like John Gruden. Everyone's penciling in John Gruden already. Let me do this. I got game recap here. I'm going to have a little fun with this title because it says any 62 game recap. John Gruden, Gruden coming? Kurt Fliss says, yeah, Adam is solid. He's usually really not wrong. Except that here's the thing. Did someone hear that? Because I haven't seen a tweet from him saying Gruden is the next head coach. Now, maybe he said that on television, but I haven't seen anyone say, hey, he said yada, yada, yada. Hold on a second. Jack Del Rio fired. John Gruden. Hired. Okay, so I made a little adjustment in the title. Now it says the title's too long. And I'm saying Zinni 62 game recap. I just took the recap out of there. Nope, still too long. Jack Del Rio fired. John Gruden hired. Come on, give me something here. I just take the Zinni 62 part out since you know it's Zinni 62, right? And I'll do it that way. Okay, cool. Now I've got a new title. If you're on watch page, ta-da! There's the new title, folks. If you refresh your screen, it says Oakland Raiders blown out by LA Chargers 30-10. Jack Del Rio fired, John Gruden hired. Game recap, okay? Barry Lee says the next... Hey, John Marks, how you doing? Happy New Year. And Barry Lee says the next big decision Mark Davis has to make is how is he going to make it up to Raider fans when the Vegas deal fails? Yeah. Well, you know what? We all expect that to happen, so it's okay, Mark. It's okay. We still love you and the organization, right? So there you go. All right. Hey Barry Lee, could you retweet this out? I have a new title, please. I'm retweeting it out as myself. Who else would I be? Just me. No, me. That's it. Sorry, folks. There's so much going on, and it's so exciting. I'm delirious. Change, sadly, is the only constant in the universe. You should embrace it. Anyway, okay. That is my tweet out. There it goes. Now, Kurt Flirt says, laugh out loud. I'll bet if Mayweather got involved, the Raiders would have already been in Vegas. Kurt, I like that one. Flash of Thunder says, probably signing John Gruden would make up if Vegas fails. Yep. Or the Fertitas, yeah. You know, I will say this. Vegas can't handle the truth. But I do think that there's some hypocrisy in terms of gambling in the NFL and everything. And at some point, we need to clear this crap out. Because it's kind of like, look, if media rights fees are going the way they are, and gambling is there, you know, and why not just, and people are betting on it anyway, why not just open up the floodgates and say, hey, you know what? Go for it. I can't believe I am listening to David Stern in my ear. I had an argument with David Stern about that in Las Vegas. I never put that on the blog. I like Mr. Stern. Didn't want to do that disservice, you know, to him. But it's kind of like, really? Man, I don't know. It's just what you're hearing from me is a frustration that the city of Oakland is not openly, aggressively doing anything right now, okay? But I'm still working. Yes, I'm working behind the scenes. Da-da-da, da-da-da. You know, hey, don't know where Forever Oakland is, so I decided to take matters up in my own hands. Da-da-da. All right? In my own way. So anyway, yes, I did. So that's all I'll say about that. Onward. Through the fog. JP from the P says, what about the A's plan? Still working. Henry Flores, haven't seen you in a while. Happy New Year to you too. And Michael Baldino says, I know Vegas seems like a good destination. Actually, it's a lousy destination. Look, I love Vegas. I've got CS coming up in a week, all right? I love Vegas, but in terms of the NFL, it's not a great idea. NBA, yes. NHL, whoo, kicking butt. WNBA, yeah. NFL, nah. You know, unless it's an expansion team with a solid plan. But this thing is being rushed through, and it's a mess. Crawford says Vegas has another hotel shooting last night. Yeah, they're up in homicides to 168, same as 2008, and that doesn't include the 1 October horror. So they had 22 homicides Vegas did last month alone. So Joe Fisher says the A's got a new stadium deal, right? Not yet. Flash of Thunder says Major League Soccer is good for Vegas, but not the NFL. I agree. Kurt First says the A's, wow. The A's need some serious pitching. They have a pretty good squad, especially that first baseman Olsen. Yep. Michael Baldino says I don't think the fan base is there. I agree with you. No, it's too small right now. They are under by 1 million. Now someone would say, what about New Orleans? And I would say, okay, but the problem with New Orleans is, well, it's not a problem. New Orleans is a good model. But my point is that New Orleans has had the Saints since, what, the 60s? And so they have an entrenched fan base. Vegas does not. I mean, you want any more proof? All right, look at this, folks. You're talking about Vegas, right? I mean, you're talking to me about Vegas, right? So, I mean, you're talking to me about Vegas, right? I'm just saying, you're talking to me about Vegas. Okay? And so, I just want to point out something to you. Maybe you haven't seen this, or maybe you have. I don't know. But, now where is it? Now that I mention it, I can't find it. Oh, boy. Yeah, now that I mention it, I can't find it there. But I can't find it there, but I know I can find it elsewhere. Hold on a second, because if you haven't seen this already, you're going to laugh. For sure. Or cry, or something in between. But watch this, okay? And for those of you who are talking about Vegas like Vegas is going out of style, which is not. Okay. Take a look at this, all right? So you say that Vegas is going to be so great for the Raiders and all this, right? Okay, have a look, folks. Ta-da. Here is your common Oakland Raiders stadium attendee in Las Vegas. Okay? This guy. All right? Translation. KC Chiefs fans will outnumber Oakland Raiders fans if stadium is built in Las Vegas. And this guy's working on the stadium in some capacity. I don't know if he's just digging dirt and doing soil analysis or what. But look at this. Okay? Look at this dude. Look at this dude. Let's get a close-up. Who is this guy? Do you know this guy? Do you know this guy? Who is this guy? With a hard hat. Who is he? Trying to get different angles of his face there. Who is he? I mean, is he really one of those bloggers that was, trolling me? But he's really a Chiefs fan? Because like chefs. Look at that. Okay? I mean, come on. Kansas City is a 19-hour drive from Las Vegas. It's quite a bit longer to Oakland. So you know what you're going to see? You're going to see guys like him. And if it's not him, it's Packer fans like Steve Sisolak. Where's the Raider fan holding up, the Raider banner? There's no Raider banner there. Instead, that guy breaks out Chiefs Kingdom? Come on. I mean, really? Chiefs Kingdom. Wow. Boy. Michael Bedron says, you got to go to blue-collar cities like that to have loyalty. That's why Buffalo still has it, though, even though the Bills have no business being there. Ken Ha says, hey, Ken Ha, how you doing? Ken Ha writes, that's what happened to the last Chiefs fan that put something like that up in Vegas. What? Nothing. He was standing there. Dawit says, hey, Z, why don't the A's use field turf? They haven't made a decision yet on their stadium, so I can't really answer that question. Fix Pacifica says, I read the guy burying the Chiefs flag was a Chiefs fan from KC. Yeah, and so he is. Kurt Fuller says Vegas isn't a good sports town. Joe Fisher says he isn't going to bury that new. Who said something about Downing? I didn't. Corvette says, I hear Niners and Raiders will flip a coin for the 9th draft spot. And Raiders have promoted Montoya is joking. Raiders have promoted Todd Downing, new head coach. Laugh out loud. Ha, ha, ha. Fake news, folks. Kurt Fuller says, the Raiders most likely would have had offered Gruden more than $25 million deal that he got. And Flash of Thunder says, New Orleans has great football fan base and their culture. Yeah, that's been around for decades, okay? Kevin Haas says they have rugby sevens in Vegas every year. Yes, they do. And Varson says, Chuck Pagano to the Raiders. So Chuck Pagano to the Raiders, he keeps his brother John, right? I hope not. Oh, time for a fresh start. Fresh, okay? fresh start. Looking at Twitter here, trying to see what the trends are. Happy New Year is the trend worldwide. And says I started a live stream. So, hey, let me tweet this out again. Okay. Hey, 53 of you watching. Welcome to Zenny62. Happy New Year, everybody. And nice to have you. It's fantastic that you are here. And right now I'm going to go in through, and I'm going to go to Adam Schefter's Twitter feed and see if he has blurted anything out of substance that it's an update, okay? So hold on a second. And, NFL, Las Vegas, Oakland, Raiders, Raider Nation. There. Just tweeting things out, okay? There we go. All right. Winston Burke says, firing Del Rio will be all bad if Gruden doesn't return. Eric Tolliver, how are you? He says, good evening, Zenny, and Happy New Year. Mr. Tolliver, nice to have you. Haven't seen you in a while. Ken Haas says, what do you think they fired Jack for? Well, he started off first year, 3 years ago, 6-10. Improved to, 12-4. And then he went down to 6-10. So it's kind of like that's the reason. That's the reason. In other words, instead of going 6-10, 12-4, 13-3, playoffs again, and then at least AFC Championship, he went south. All right. Oh, and by the way, also, he didn't win the AFC West. So there you go. That's the problem. So Corvette says first year Del Rio was 7-9. I stand corrected. Well, but then think about it. He was just one away from 6-10. All right. My point is, he started here, went here, and then went south. All right. In fact, thanks Corvette, because you sort of buttressed my point. He actually finished a game worse than when he started. So yeah. Desmond says Gruden is not worth $10 million a year. Whoo, no way. Corey Brown says Gruden did say on his way out of Oakland that he has unfinished business here and that he would be back one day. He did say that. He did say that. He certainly did. Benjamin asks, what do you think the most glaring need for the Raiders is? Let me rephrase this. He says, what do you think is the Raiders' most glaring need if they are to succeed? And I think, all right, a coherent strategy. You can't just succeed by making piecemeal decisions here and there. You have to have a vision for your organization, for your team. And then you have to find the people and players to fill that vision. My concern is the Raiders have not. Again, I use this as an example, Al Davis. Al Davis laid out a vision. He wanted a speed team, attacking on defense, and they had a style of play that was described by a nickname given to their defense, 11 Angry Men. On offense, they were mad bombers. They were deep throwers. There was a banner hung up at the Oakland Coliseum in the, if you look northward on the left side, and it was written, this goes back to the 70s, speed kills 21 branch. It says it all. My point is, he had a complete philosophy of how football should be played. And when he got John Madden reflected that philosophy, okay? So Al Davis got someone in John Madden to be the constructor of his vision on the field, because he was the owner and didn't want to do it himself anymore. Couldn't, arguably. So the Raiders need that. The Raiders need to establish a vision, an organizational and football vision for their future to move forward. That's what's lacking. And once that vision is established, they can move forward. Now, from an entirely other perspective, the Raiders' problems with respect to Del Rio have to do with fundamentals on defense. How many times this year we talked about the defensive line coming off too high on a pass rush, not getting their pads under the opponent's pads, lifting the offensive linemen, controlling them, getting around them, but also this jazz of two-gapping, where they get pushed and locked in, trying to control an offensive lineman. But if you go this way, the running back goes that way. If you go that way, the running back goes this way. Pick a gap, stick to that gap. On offense, it was basically just they had a collection of plays without an idea, without a system. Musgrave also had a collection of plays, but a semblance of a system. But Downing, there was no system. It was a collection of plays. It was bad. Okay? There's no overarching vision. Wasn't there. All right? And Flash then says, okay, John Fisher says, what do you think of maybe this being Marvin Lewis last season as Bengals head coach? Ken Haas says, just breaking on ESPN. Okay, so let me go back to ESPN. John is coming. Hold on a second. You say, I'm going back to here. John Gruden. And it says, report Raiders set to pursue former coach John Gruden. But it doesn't say, that's Raider Wire, okay? That's the top news. And now here it is, okay. Raider Rapid Report, John Gruden is going to be the next head coach of the Raiders. John Gruden with Derek Carr. That was 19 seconds ago. John Gruden is going to be the next head coach of the Raiders. Adam Schefter on ESPN. John Gruden is coming. That's great. I almost want to cry. That asshole. He took the job. Good for him. John Gruden will be the next head coach of the Raiders. And here's Adam Schefter saying it. Hold on a second, all right?
Jack Del Rio, unless you know you can get John Gruden. John Gruden's going to be the next coach of the Oakland Raiders. The only question is when it happens. That's what I thought. But so that's what you're saying.
Oh, wait. Hold on a second. This is what...
He's going to be the next coach of the Oakland Raiders. Again, you don't make that move.
Wait a second. This is... Wait. All right, I want to temper something here. Adam Schefter's making this comment as more of, oh, yeah, this is a certainty. This is not like a breaking news thing. It's being reported as a breaking news story on Twitter. Okay, so let me show you what Adam just said, all right? So we all, have the proper view, and we're not getting too much ahead of ourselves, all right? Take a look, okay? I want you to listen carefully, okay?
Here, it's simple. You don't make that move with Jack Del Rio unless you know you can get John Gruden. John Gruden's going to be the next coach of the Oakland Raiders. The only question is when it happens.
That's what I thought. But so that's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
He's going to be the next coach of the Oakland Raiders. Again, you don't make that move the way that he does.
There we go. Phones
today.
Plural. One phone, two phones.
And
yes.
And
now we're cooking.
You don't make that move without knowing that you're convinced that you can get John Gruden. And what was interesting yesterday in doing that story with Moore is usually when you do a story, you meet some blowback and some resistance. Some people say, hey, you sure about it? There was never a single ounce of blowback on that story.
Interesting.
Not one bit.
And I think a lot of folks were convinced or...
Okay, so see there, you heard it yourself, all right? You heard him say that, all right? And so my point is, it's not official at all. It is a hypothesis. And a hypothesis, the definition, sorry about that, folks. I'm just trying to get this even here, all right? Okay, there we are. All right, cool. A hypothesis is an educated... Whoops, excuse me. Not like that. Sorry about that. All right, a hypothesis is defined... Oh, there it goes again. I don't know why this keeps happening. Because I want to make a good point. All right. There we go. All right. A hypothesis is defined as an educated guess based on study. All right? That's what a hypothesis is. So what Adam Schefter did was make an educated guess based on study. That's what he did. That does not discount the fact that, hey, it hasn't happened. As Crawford says, they still have to go through the interview process. But also, don't you think it's telling that Adam didn't even mention anything about the Rooney Rule, or, hey, maybe the process should be honored, or nothing like that. It's just completely forgot about that. Oh, Gruden. Oh, the what? What's the Rooney Rule? What's that? Does it matter anymore? I mean, seriously, does it matter anymore? Ah, come on. I mean, wowzers. Hey, welcome to Zenny 62, everybody. John Gruden has not been officially hired as the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. Now, here's the thing. Gruden is strongly in favor of Oakland, all right? No Gruden yet, all right? It's a good, educated guess. Now, you know what's official when you go to the Raider website and it says Raiders hiring John Gruden, right? Right now, it's not. The headline is Raiders relieve Del Rio of duties as head coach. And then the second one is the live stadium cam for the Vegas thing, okay, which, is it actually working? Let's see here. I'm going to, and there's no difference. It's still got the blue, nothing's happened, all right? So anyway, point I'm making is that, and let me see if in their text, the Raiders website mentions anything about John Gruden at all. Because remember, this is coming from ESPN, right? So let's see, it says, this is what we read, all right. The Oakland Raiders have relieved Jack Del Rio of his duties as head coach. We appreciate Jack's effort in building the foundation of this team for the future. Thank you to Jack, his wife Linda, and his daughter Aubrey for the important contributions to the Raiders and our local community in Oakland. We wish them all the best, said Raiders owner Mark Davis. Del Rio was named head coach January 2015 and posted a 25-23 mark in 3 seasons as head coach. The Raiders will have no further statement until we are ready to announce our next head coach. And that is it, all right? That's it. So, there you go, all right? That's from the Raiders website. And nothing about John Gruden. Benjamin says, do you think Marvin Lewis will be a reasonable addition to the Raiders coaching staff as a defensive coordinator? I think Marvin Lewis will be a fantastic head coach. Corey Brown says, I didn't particularly like the Raiders' dink and dunk offense under Gruden. I think we need to stretch the field more. Corey, I think that the classic Walsh style of having the alert, the deep pattern, and then coming back short is the best way to go. Myself, using the pass to set up the run, but having a powerful running game. I like the dink and dunk. It really wears defenses down, and it softens them up for the deep throw. That's what the Niners did over their history. So Benjamin says, Marvin Lewis said that he wants an organizational job, something in the front office most likely. But is he officially gone from the Bengals? I haven't seen that. Let me see what's going on here. So we've got all these John Gruden stuff, all right? And John Gruden, not kidding, Mark Davis dropped Jack Del Rio down the black hole. Mark Davis may have oh boy, but he damn show White's paychecks. I like him now. I'm reading a tweet, okay? And John Gruden reportedly will be named Raiders head coach after Jack Del Rio. Reportedly. Huh. Jack Del Rio with Mark. This guy's got the Godfather saying, make him an offer he can't refuse. Oh boy, oh boy. Let's see here. Let me see here. Let me see with people. Let me see if Coach Gruden's got a Twitter account. No, he doesn't. Wait a minute. color analyst for John Gruden does have one. Or, no, that's not his. But that's not his account. All right. Let me see something here as far as Marvin Lewis. Let's see here. Google News. Don't blame Zeke's suspension. What else? Oh, boy. Kurt Flirt says the TV gig was good for him. It was. Let me see Marvin Lewis. Marvin Jones. Hey, Marvin Lewis is not even a true trend. And as I look for the latest news on him, it says, Marvin Lewis says, this is 28 seconds ago, according to Bleacher Report, Marvin Lewis says he'd like to return as head coach of Bengals in 2018. So he hasn't been fired, okay? And that was 28 seconds ago. And that's from Bleacher Report. And so one fan says, it's been a rough year for the Bengals, but at least they went out with a bang. God bless you, Andy Dalton and Tyler Boyd. You are both the real. God bless you, Marvin Lewis. Thank you for your service and making the Bengals relevant. You are also the real. So the Bengals knocking out two teams. That's right. The Bengals have knocked two teams out of the playoffs. The Bengals knocking out two teams of the playoffs 2 weeks in a row is great and all. And so, but this guy thinks Marvin Lewis is gone. And, I've heard this before. I doubt it. There are people who don't want him back. Now, the Bengals saved Marvin Lewis' job with dramatic win over the Ravens. Yeah. So basically, Marvin Lewis has proven he's got it. Still, it's like, hey, wait a minute. And he's probably doing that. He's probably looking in the mirror right now, considering what he's done over the past 2 weeks and going, Now, the headline is Marvin Lewis says he'd like to return as head coach of Bengals in 2018. Now, who wrote this? Tim Daniels. And it says, now, Jim Ozawaski of the Cincinnati Bengals Cincinnati Enquirer notes that Lewis said the situation was more complicated than team owner Mike Brown asking him to stay after the team's 7-9 campaign. And Adam Schefter had reported earlier that Lewis planned to leave the franchise to pursue opportunities elsewhere with his contract set to expire at season's end. The Bengals coach denied the rumor, however. All right? So that's where you have to be careful, because this whole thing about Marvin Lewis going out started with Adam Schefter, just like this whole thing with Gruden, right? So we have to consider the source, all right? It ain't necessarily so. We know that Del Rio's out. That much we know. But we don't know who's going to replace him. We hope it would be Gruden. We're not sure, all right? So Marvin Lewis, unlike Jacques Del Rio, has a 125, 112, and 3 record over 15 years with the Bengals. He would be a plug-and-play head coach. That much is certain. Because he's been a head coach for so long, you would be stupid not... you would be really stupid not to talk to him. Okay? Because Marvin Lewis is the dean of head coaches. He understands the administrative aspects of being a head coach. He just does. So, as opposed to someone... The Bengals would have to hope and pray that their next head coach hire, if there is one, knows as much about the administrative side of the business as he does. Saves a lot of money. Saves a lot of money. Could he be the next great head coach of the Raiders if Mark Davis were to look in his direction? I'm going to say something. I think, I'm just going to say it. I think so. But I don't... I think so. I was going to say something in the negative, but nah, I thought about it and changed my mind. Now, Eric Tolliver says, I don't believe Davis fires Jack this quickly unless Gruden was coming to the Raiders. Yeah, but you don't know. Kevin KD says he is a brilliant defensive mind, but him and the Bengals need to cut bait. Kurt first says, I don't know who the Bengals need, but but what, Kurt? Say it. Kevin KD says Marvin Lewis is the real architect of the 2000 Ravens defense. Yes, he is. Kevin Haas says gonna be Gruden. Put that on my name and my. Let me ask you, if it's not Gruden and it's Marvin Lewis, would you be upset? Just asking. And as Kurt Ferd did point out, Marvin Lewis did say he wanted to pursue another organizational position. But the whole point is, hey, Kurt, are you sure that came out of his mouth? That he actually said that? Or that you saw the quote from Adam Schefter? Because if that quote came from Adam Schefter, you did not hear it straight out of Marvin Lewis' mouth. Okay? Wasn't there. All right? So, Crawford says Marvin Lewis is NFL TMZ. Yeah, it's starting to look like that, doesn't it? It really does. So, welcome to Zenny62, everybody. Any questions you got, fire them away. Lane Kiffin to the Bengals? Nah. Boy, Lane Kiffin. Yeah, right. Clerk Furt says, laugh out loud, I'm sorry. I wouldn't want Marvin Lewis back as coach there. It's been way too long and too much losing. But they've been competitive. And Marvin Lewis as a Raider just has a nice ring to it. It just does. So, and Mark says, Marvin Lewis would be a good/quality choice for the Raiders. Kurt Flirt says, on the NFL Network, they said he wanted to pursue an organizational position. Yeah, but they're quoting Adam Schefter, okay? You have to remember something. That's their little echo chamber, and their echo chamber isn't necessarily correct. Now, something else, he has an organizational position. Or maybe if Mark Davis said to Marvin Lewis, hey, you know what? Come here and you can be head coach and GM. Because by that, he would have his organizational position and still be head coach. Okay? So, Fix specifically says Marvin Lewis is a slightly better than average coach. He definitely is not a great coach, and I doubt that he'd make much of a difference if he came to Oakland. I disagree with that. And IAC wants to interview Jerome Harbaugh, and my thought is, why? Kurt Flirt doesn't want Marvin Lewis, but I don't see any reason why. Kurt Flirt, you want Harbaugh? I don't know. Eric Tolliver says, I got that one. Kevin KD says he's a brilliant defensive mind, Marvin Lewis, but the Bengals but him and the Bengals need to cut bait. The 7-9. I don't think so. I think that they're on the cusp of being great. I really do. With Marvin Lewis. Without him, it's a coin flip. Just like it would be with any team. Mike Baldini says, who do you blame most for the Raiders losing history? Sorry for being negative, I just want to know. I blame the ownership for not establishing a coherent vision and sticking to it and micromanaging and allowing a culture of character allowing a culture to exist where people ascend via, to some degree, character assassination. And it's been the Raider way for some time. It needs to change, but I'm not convinced it's going to in the near term. That is the problem. The Raiders need to hire a head coach that has a large ego, like Gruden, give that person control, like Gruden should have, but then step out of the way and let that person, I don't care if it's Gruden or Hugh Jackson, do it. And why do I mention Hugh Jackson? Because Hugh Jackson wanted that kind of control, but Reggie McKenzie didn't want him to have that kind of control. And, you know, the sad part about that is that optic was he had two black NFL executives, all right? The head coach and the GM arguing with each other over control, and it shouldn't be that way. If anything, it should have been a case of Reggie saying to Hugh Jackson, hey, let's share our duties, let's be friends, you know, come over, we'll have a steak dinner, let's lay out our plans for the team, bring your wife and family, you know, come on over, that sort of thing. Didn't happen that way. And it's sad for both. Because if you look at you look at Hugh Jackson, and I think of Marvin, sometimes because of the fact that Marvin Lewis hired Hugh Jackson as offensive coordinator, I sometimes tend to think of them as a tag team. But if you think about Hugh Jackson and Reggie McKenzie, separate, they both haven't done as well as I think they would have done as a team. So Stan says, why do you think Jack Del Rio said that the Raiders post-game interview that he blamed the loss on what? I have no idea what this is. Crawford, let's see here. I have no idea. Okay, now we've got Crawford says somewhere John Ralston is celebrating the Bills' playoff berth. Yes. Kevin KD says, Zinni, the optics of Hugh and Reggie still bugs me as well. Hey, Kevin KD, at least you're paying attention, right? Juan Ramirez says, Mark Davis should never be allowed to make any decision on the basis of his hair. Oh, God. But do you want him to have a fro? I mean, what is it? My goodness. So anyway, I got that one. I'm trying to get the other comments here. Oh, Kevin Katie says, "Him and forever, the Chargers always find a way to disappoint." Well, in this case, you know what? They won, but they didn't win. And hey, look, consider this. What did Anthony Lynn, the Chargers head coach, do? He did something that no one's talking about. He made the Chargers a playoff contender in his first year as head coach. Now, wouldn't you want that for the Raiders? Okay. I mean, for all of the ups and downs, for the relocation stuff, for starting off 0-4, think about it. They start off 0-4, and then they storm back, and they posted, 9 wins in 7 losses. That's pretty good. They finished strong, okay, the Chargers. You have to give your hat off to them. And as Benjamin just wrote, that's impressive for only 1 year to do that. Yeah. Kevin KD says, every year the Chargers are the kind of franchise that will always tease you. They're like the guy that you marry for, I don't marry guys. But Kevin KD, I guess, marries a guy. That's fine. But he says, that's like the guy that you marry for his potential, and he spends years constantly breaking your heart. Or girl, okay? In my case. I haven't been there yet. But you think I don't pay attention when I read these things? I pay attention. So Crawford says, they still belong in San Diego, but that was a great job they did. Or Kevin KD says, well, the girl you marry. Well, there you go. I mean, look, it's a free country. So anyway, so we've got, let's see here. And she breaks your heart. Yeah. Or Kevin KD, or where he breaks your heart, right? I'm just saying. Oh, boy. Kevin KD says he actually has a lady. Hey, man, that's cool. It's just, I mean, yeah, I'm straight, and so I'm straight-oriented, right? And, so to read that comment, I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. He's, expressing his preferences. Cool. Hey, man, not a problem here. So at any rate, Flash with Thunder says, what's impressive, 49ers started 0-9 and ending up with 6 wins of 7 games. I agree. Yeah, they were just killers. Didn't matter if you were large or small. The Niners were just racking up wins. I haven't had a chance to watch the film about what they're doing, though. Kurt Flirt says, Rivers is getting old and his accuracy has gone down a ton. But Kurt, the man threw for 380 yards. All right? And he says, but that's the problem with the Chargers. Kurt, the man threw for 380 yards. I mean, Kurt, doesn't make any sense. MM Forever says, you think there's any truth to Drew Brees and Sean Payton leaving town after this season and joining a new team as a combo? No. Because whoever does that has to pay a lot of money. That's not just something you do. And then they would have to contend with New Orleans paying a lot of money. So no. Mark says, very Chargery. It's who they are. Hey, Chargers fans, you really ought to, instead of looking at the outcome as a continuum of almost successes, considering this is your first year with Anthony Lynn as head coach, and he posts a 7-9 record, I think you should be very excited for the future, because consider that had Kansas City not won, hey, the Chargers would have walked into the playoffs. And consider that if Baltimore had won, you all were just different ticks away from being in the playoffs, and yet you did the job. You walked in, you clobbered the Raiders, you finished 9-7, but for this turn or that turn, look, the better you could have done would have been 10-6. But regardless, your first-year head coach did better than the Dolphins' first-year head coach. All right. Plus, he's black. I have to just say that, okay? Because why not say, hey, you know what? Why not? Has anyone talked about throwing his hat in the ring for Coach of the Year, considering what happened and how he brought them back? Why not? Who would be Coach of the Year? Instead, we're saying Belichick. Well, come on. Everyone expected Belichick to be there, so why give it to Belichick if you expected him to do well? That's not what Coach of the Year is all about. I'm not saying Lynch should definitely be the Coach of the Year. There are other candidates that you've got to look at, like Sean McVay, right, of the Rams, or Doug Peterson of the Eagles, right? But at least throw his hat in the ring and say, because this guy did a great job his first year. No one expected it. No one expected it. I'm just saying, all right? So, and then Mike Zimmer, as Michael Bonanio just pointed out quite accurately. But I'm just saying throw his hat in the ring. I'm not saying anoint him. But it's fascinating how people don't look at it and say, hey, And yeah, Zimmer's done really well with the Vikings. Benjamin says, which teams could possibly be considered a legitimate threat to the Patriots in the AFC? Well, you got to look at Jacksonville because they finished with number 1 defense. I know they didn't finish strong, okay, but you have to look at them, obviously. And I think the Chiefs, and here's the reason why. Remember what the kickoff game was? Remember the Chiefs blowing the Patriots out of the stadium? Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, you got to look at that. Because the Chiefs, schematically, have the Patriots number. All right? They do. Kevin KD says, it's funny because last year this time it was the Raiders that clobbered the Chargers. Yep. And he said, Qualcomm is a legendary venue. Inman Forever says, I was at StubHub Center at the game. It's a great venue. Much better than awful Qualcomm experience. Really? Interesting. How were the concessions? Were the concession lines tight? In other words, were the corridors narrow there in such a way that you didn't have space if you stood in line for, Coca-Cola or something? Jack Bauer, how are you? He says, wow, they're real out. Winston Burke says, thoughts on Crabtree sitting out? James Washington, wide receiver, record-setting, Oklahoma State. That's my thought. You mentioned Michael Crabtree to me. I mentioned James Washington to you. You get the picture? Michael Crabtree, James Washington. Or more like this. Michael Crabtree, James Washington. Okay? Michael Crabtree, James Washington. Okay? That's my answer. All right? That's my answer. Eric Tolliver says, can you name another head coach at 9-7 who was nominated for Coach of the Year in history? Yeah. You asked an incomplete question. It's not that the head coach went 9-7. It's that the head coach went 9-7 first year out. First year. Okay? First year head coach, candidates. In fact, That's the whole point. If you were a second year, whatever, nah. But 9-7 his first year out. Yes, he should be considered. I'm saying you've got 3 teams, the Eagles, the Vikings, and the Rams, that have coaches that should be the front runners, but to not put Anthony Lynn in there as a runner-up, considering what he did with the Chargers and how they finished the year before, yeah. And remember, again, this is his first year out, and they stumbled 0-4, and they did a fantastic job of making adjustments and righting their ship. Okay, so you cannot discount that. You just can't. And so Emma Forever says, Zinni, StubHub's parking was easy in and out. No waiting 2 hours to get in and out like Qualcomm. They had great food choices, and every seat there you are super close. And Crawford says, San Diego is a great Super Bowl city. All they need is to massively renovate Qualcomm to NFL standards. LA Raiders says StubHub is great. So basically, you think StubHub is a great model to build off of for an NFL stadium? Keep that in mind. Michael Baldino says, why? This is funny. Juan Ramirez says StubHub is great for a monster truck show. The NFL, no. Anthony Perez says, with 5 minutes in the third quarter in beast mode, how do we call the zone block for Lynch behind Newhouse? Did you guys see Mark Davis's face? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. And what I was saying, I'm in Chicago. I didn't get the game. I'll have to watch the replay. I just saw the stats. They are kind of worth mentioning, but or going over, I think. But I know a lot of you don't want to. But oh, by the way, let's see here. We don't have any NFL. Only have the Bills. But we don't have any NFL other than the Bills. Only the Bills have hit the worldwide Trader Twins. It says, congratulations to the Buffalo Bills players, coaching staff, trainers, leadership, the Pagula family. This is from Jim and Kelly. The entire organization, the city of Buffalo, the fans, the alumni, and to all proud Bills Mafia members, and Happy New Year. The party has started. Jim Kelly put out that tweet an hour ago. Breaking Bills clinched their first playoff berth since 1999, ending the longest current drought in the NFL. So, we have to say, now that is officially news, yeah, you also have to think about the Patriots. You have to think about Patriots and the Bills, right? So, and the Bills being able, as possibly being able to knock off the Patriots, although I think Kansas City is a better bet because they've done it. So basically, Bills Nation, or Bills Mafia, excuse me, is so crazy happy that their combination of tweets have produced a situation where Bills is one of the worldwide trends on New Year's Eve night. And it is 8:44 p.m. Central Time, which is 9:44 in the East, or in the East, a little over 2 hours before midnight, 3 hours here. Let me see something here. And it is still... No, the weather looks worse. Yeah, it's cold outside, folks. Anyway, playoffs, go baby, go baby. So let me see what else is going on here with, if I type J, I get James Harden, Jets. I don't get John Gruden on Twitter. If I type J, I don't get John Gruden. Which means that the news isn't that intense. If I type J-O, I get John Fox, Josh Gordon, and then John Gruden, which means that there's not as much news. Let's click on John Fox, because what we find is Bears lost to Vikings, one last failure in John Fox likely finale. So now we're looking for John Fox to likely be fired as the head coach. And as Tom Fornelli says, Tom Fornelli is with CBS Sports, John Fox is only going to be your coach for a few more hours. Take a look at this. This is funny. Take a look. See that? Okay? That's funny. Hey, you want John Fox as Raiders head coach? I'm just kind of teasing with you a little bit, okay? I'm just having fun with you, all right? Okay, so Ian Rappaport reports NFC post from earlier. Lions coach John Caldwell likely coaching his last game. Bears coach John Fox expected to be fired after Sunday's game. Packers defensive coordinator Don Capers nearing the end of the road. Ding! All right. So who's safe and who's out? All right. And so let's see. And we know Chuck Pagano is gone, which, you know, as I said in my earlier post, Chuck Pagano fired from Colts, but hashtag Chuck Strong lives on. He survived cancer and was an inspiration to many, including this guy, for his strength, his courage, his stamina, and his emotional endurance and emotional intelligence through the ordeal of battling cancer, talking about Chuck Pagano. So for that, I will give him a forever salute. So yeah, absolutely. Okay. John Fox led Chicago Bears wins by division. AFC North 4, West 3, North 3, West 2, NFC South 1, NFC East none, AFC South none, NFC East none. Okay, so we don't have, no one's pulled the trigger yet. All right, now let's go back to Jack Del Rio news. Jack, now see here's the thing. If I just type J-A, I get James Harrison at 2 sacks today. And then if I put the C, I get Jack Del Rio. So the one thing you know is that that's what happens when you're on your way out. You become a top Twitter trend. Now, if Gruden were the choice by the Raiders now, if I had typed J-O, the first name on Twitter would have been John Gruden, okay? Now, Adam Schefter started all this, so if it doesn't happen, remember who's get egg on their face? It's Adam. It's Adam, all right? Now, what's the latest behind JDR? Nothing. Jack Del Rio, Oakland Raiders fire head coach. That's, you know, the same headline repeated again. That's a minute ago. Chicago Tribune has it. Raiders make huge mistake firing Jack Del Rio so quickly, says Reacher report. This is interesting. This is a headline. I want you to read. I'm going to read this to you, okay? This is from Bleacher Report. All right? And you know what? This tells me, I wonder if this is from, no, this is from Brad Gagnon. Wonder what happened to Jason Cole. Anyway, the headline here is, here's this headline, folks. You got to see this headline. This is the headline. Raiders make huge mistake firing Jack Del Rio so quickly. That's the headline, okay? Now, this is an interesting take. It's by Brad Gagnon. Gagnon? Is that French? Gag? Or is it like Gagnon? Anyway, the whole point is, hey, a lot of people make fun of my name, okay? So whatever. The whole point is, all right, the Oakland Raiders, this is Brad Gagnon talking. The Oakland Raiders took a step backward in 2017, and that's okay. It happens often to see a wash or with parity, especially in teams coming off sudden breakout campaigns. The Raiders were widely expected to come back to earth after ending a 13-year playoff drought with a 12-win 2016 season. Despite that record, they ranked 10th at Football Outsiders in terms of defense-adjusted value over average, which is called DVOA, and the same source ranked them 14th based on Pythagorean wins, which represents a projection of the team's expected wins based solely on points scored and allowed. Yes, that 6-10 finish is a disappointment, but this is a team that faced a tougher schedule, true, and had a target on its back after taking the league by storm 1 year ago. The element of surprise was gone, And I did that because I thought the element of surprise was going to be maintained by switching offensive coordinators, but it didn't happen. They actually went to a simpler, more predictable offense, the Raiders did. But I digress. Okay? The element of surprise was gone in 2017, and it didn't help that superstar quarterback Derek Carr spent most of the 2017 offseason recovering from a broken leg, or that he broke a bone in his back in October. So why, considering all that, did the Raiders already fire Jack Del Rio? This is Mr. Gagnon writing. And he says, 11 months ago, only 3 head coaches received more votes than Del Rio for NFL's Coach of the Year. Del Rio was lauded for his aggressive mentality, praised for the way he had changed the culture and helped turn a downtrodden franchise around. All right, now they have the Coach of the Year voting with Jason Garrett getting 25 votes, Belichick getting 14, Adam Gase of the Dolphins getting 6, Del Rio getting 4, and Andy Reid getting 2, okay? And I might add, Adam Gase, and here's my point, right? So we were talking about Anthony Lynn, and I think someone had said, well, gee, you know, when was the last time you heard of a coach getting a, you know, a reward for going 7-9 and or excuse me, not 7-9, but 9-7, and you know, you've got and then that's it. All right. So anyway, and my point is that Adam Gase went 10-6 and led the Dolphins to the playoffs. Anthony Lynn almost did that. He went 9-7 and almost got into the playoffs. He was one off. But I'm saying that performance got Adam Gase and put him number 3. Anthony Lynn wouldn't be number 3. He would be number 5 or 6. But I'm saying, why not, right? Now, Jack Del Rio was 4. Andy Reid was, the Chiefs was I got 4 votes. Anyway, the article goes on and it says, this is yet another indication that owners and front offices are far too impatient in this league. No. Really. And then he says, Del Rio went 25-2 in 3 seasons with a team that won just 11 games in 3 seasons that preceded his arrival. And his performance in those first 2 years, earned him a 4th-year contract extension this past summer. It says the Raiders have torn up Jack Del Rio's original contract and rewarded him with a new 4-year deal, Raider owner Mark Davis said in a statement at the time, only just 6 months ago. It's funny how things change, right? You're on top, and then you're on, it's like you go from here to here. Ooh. We are excited to continue building on the strong foundation that has been established, and this is a significant step in achieving that goal. Okay. Again, the reality is that 2016 played above its head. This was still supposed to be a work in progress, but it appears 2016 played over its head. But it appears Raider brass was led to believe the team became a perennial Super Bowl contender last season. Not even a speed bump was tolerable. Those raised expectations cost Del Rio his job, which could do more harm than good to a young team that will now be forced to adjust to a new coaching staff, a new environment, and possibly even a new personnel and schemes. Possibly? Even? Take that out of your sentence, pal. Come on, Bruce Gagnon. When you change head coaches, you change schemes. Even if it's a Bill Walsh offense, there's one coach that runs the offense differently from another. Some coaches run the same system, but hey, you know what? Others change the terminology a little bit. Some change it a lot. Just saying, okay? So, and it says, Del Rio is a scapegoat for General Manager Reggie McKenzie, who has failed to surround Carr with enough talent on either side of the ball. You know the general stuff here, okay? And this is a quote that Carr says players weren't good enough for Del Rio. What's this? I gotta hear this. This doesn't make any sense. I don't want to say this is who this comes from. And then the media can't be played. You know this. How about that? Why don't people just use YouTube? Because I don't know how many times somebody uses, Twitter video, and then I find a Twitter video and I click on it and the thing can't be played. Great. Hey, you know what? Use YouTube. It works. I'm just saying it works. Cross-platform YouTube works. Use it. Anyway, this guy goes on, and the rest of this is kind of not even worth reading, but the whole point is he's saying the Raiders panicked. I mean, I don't know what you thought about that, but, I mean, I'm going to read your comments because I'm sure a lot of you disagree with that. Rick Rice, you're the man. Jack Dell Jr. says, I'm starting to wonder if certain Raider staff secretly about the Chucky deal all along. I think what you meant to say is I'm starting to wonder if certain Raider staff secretly knew about the Chucky deal all along. And that would be very Raiders. Eric Madison says, I agree with Bleacher Report. Plus, the Raiders have to pay Jack Del Rio up front with extension and have to pay Chucky top dollar and partly ownership. Yeah, that's, on top of everything else in Vegas. That's like, what are you doing with all this money, dude? So, as my mom says, don't spend all the money just because you got it. Eric Tolliver says, Zinni, you already told us why we were not hearing about the signing Gruden till after the Super Bowl, and I believe it. It's going to happen. Chucky is going to come home. Thank you, Eric. Kevin KD says, Gag Neon is the pronunciation for Ghanaian? What? Gamera? You mean the monster? Gamera. I'm just kidding. Remember Gamera? Yeah, the thing with the tortoise that had the spikes on. Just anyway. Gamera. Every time you write that, Kevin KD, I keep breaking into Gamera. Sorry, but anyway, anyways. Hey Eric, thank you for all you do. I appreciate it. Corvette says, I heard a rumor is it's going to be a new head coach of the Oakland Raiders and he help keeping the Raiders in Oakland. Gruden? John's got some Raider ties in Oakland. Like a certain friend of mine that I should call who would have some skinny on this. Ooh. And I'm not going to say who that friend is. I got to give a shout out to the folks that used to come on to my show that are mad at me because I have a great relationship with the mayor of Oakland, who's my god sister. And I have to say, hey, if they were on, they would say, oh, karma's a B because the Raiders are fooling around in Vegas and look what happened to them. And I'm talking about Bousman. And I have to say, yeah, you know what? He said way back in preseason, this is bad karma. Remember it? I have to call it. He said, this is bad karma. The Raiders are not going anywhere because of this Vegas stuff. They treated the fan base terribly, and it's not happening. And he said that before the season started, if you remember, okay? He said that before the season started. So I have to say, I remember, and I call it out, all right? Eric Reese says, Vegas News, thank you for your accurate info pertaining to the stadium deal. Thank you. Rodrigo Benitez says, work in away, so something I can't read. Kevin KD says, relocations always cause total distractions. Corvette says, no, Zen, you're going to be new head coach. Thanks. Put me in there. Put me in. I'm ready to coach. I actually would be damn good. Yes, I said it. I did say that. Trying to get the rest of your comments. Ian Forever says, Niners winning the NFL flip. NFL always has it in for the Raiders. Did I read that correctly? It was not. Oh, I see. You're referring to the coin flip for the draft. Yeah. Eric Tolliver says, Chucky all day. Kurt Furr says, to be honest, Chuck Pagano, I really didn't think much of him as a coach, but his recovery story was great. Yeah, it was inspirational. I agree with you. I mean, I thought well of him as a coach and a person, but the cancer issue to me was an entirely other issue that was about life, philosophy, emotional intelligence, love, perseverance, belief, all that, okay? All that. So, and Eric Mass says, Zinni, what would be a better fit for guard and Colts? For Gruden, Colts or Raiders? Oh, the Raiders, of course. And not just because of the past in that way, but because the number of people that John knows in the Bay Area, I mean, people who are, car salesmen, politicians, the whole 9 yards. He's got a lot of deep ties here. Heck, John Gruden even got a DUI in Pleasanton. Did you know that? Yeah. When he was Raider head coach, I think it was his first year, he got a DUI, was dismissed. And so I'm sure that he knows the cop and the judge and everybody else down in Pleasanton where he, got popped that time. But yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of ties around, I'm just saying, okay? So Kurt Flip says you actually could be a good head coach. Thanks. And I would keep the team in Oakland. Yeah, I'd give Mark Davis the greatest herbal tea and have him thinking Oakland was the greatest place, and he changed in a second. And so Eric Tolliver says, I will take you I would take you as our new head coach over Lewis, and he bet on that. Hey, thank you. And but not Chucky. Hey, except this, I got to tell you. All right, true story. And I ought to have my friend on and say it. But I was at Raider headquarters. This is way back in 1998, 99, 98, when Gruden was the new head coach. And my buddy introduced me to him. There's a photograph of us. 4 of us. It's me, my buddy Charlie Santana Jr., whose dad, Chuck Santana Sr., was Alameda County supervisor who helped bring the Raiders back from L.A. to Oakland. John Gruden, and then this Jeff guy, the cut doctor. Tall dude's like 6'7". We're all together, all right? And I told John I had a play for him. We're talking football strategy, and Coach said, hey, you know what? Why don't you call the office, get on my schedule, and we'll get on the whiteboard. This is John Gruden saying that, all right? So me, chickening out, never did it. I was also busy, all right? But I didn't do it. Anyway, time goes on, and 2004 Super Bowl comes up to Houston, and I go, and I'm at the Lee Steinberg Super Bowl party in the aquarium there in Houston. And so I see Coach Gruden, and I reminded him of that conversation we had, and he says, what are you standing there for? Get the fucking napkin. So I got a napkin, I drew a play out for him, and I can tell you what it was, okay? It was a double wing, tight end right, with the wing as the flanker on that side. Actually, it was on the side of the tight end, it was the fullback with the flanker in the wing on the slot side, but he was actually winged with the offensive tackle. So it was more wing than a slot look, although it was actually a slot left, right? And then the halfback behind the offensive tackle on that side, the strong side. And then the fullback would come in motion and run a flat pattern kind of underneath the flanker. The flanker would come in and then go up this way, and then the split end ran a fly pattern, all right? And that was the play. And, and the fullback here, okay, would come off, and where the halfback would come off here, okay, and where the fullback was going on, or the flanker was going on the flat, the halfback was actually running a circle pattern this way. So the idea is you had a blitz, you had 2 options. You go here or over the middle. So if you had a double linebacker blitz and a 3-4, we'd kill it. Just kill it. I love that play. He went, and I drew it up for him. I explained the progression. He went, stopped. Game over. So anyway, and then when he was with ESPN in his first year, and I'm covering the NFL draft, he's at the draft at Radio City, and I said, hey, Coach Gruden, it's Zenny Abraham. Remember this play? And I drew it, because I drawn up the play again, and he just starts laughing. So, there's my John Gruden story. And if he says otherwise, no steak dinner for him when he comes back to Oakland. Because if he says otherwise, all I got to do is produce Charlie Santana Jr. He goes, "Hey, I was there. I brought you guys together. Yeah." Oh my gosh. Okay. And Derek Tarr says, "That's Gruden, all right." Yeah. It's like, that's it. Oh boy, oh boy. Kevin KD says, "Zinni, if he got that DUI today, TMZ and Twitter would have been on him." Yes. Yeah, he could thank his lucky stars there was no social media then. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. And Eric Tolliver says, "I will take..." Got it. Okay. Hey, folks, it's 9:06. And there are 53 watching now. And I'm telling you, rumor is Gruden wants offensive coordinator John Morton from the Jets. Is that right? Let me see that. Let me see. John Morton. I like that. John Morton. John Morton. John Morton. Johnny Morton was offensive assistant to the Raiders. I remember that. So Gruden is, yeah, there's this is on Twitter. Report: Gruden wants Jets offensive coordinator John Morton on staff. John Morton, New York Jets. New York Daily News reports John Gruden is targeting Jets offensive coordinator John Morton for his staff if Gruden takes the Raiders head coaching job. So let's see here. Let's see what's going on here. John Morton, New York Jets, and let's see here. Wide receiver. And let's see. Morton worked on Gruden's previous Raiders staffs and is widely credited with helping resurrect Josh McCown's career in 2017 with the Jets, gained the most out of personnel that was considered among the league's worst entering the season. Per the Daily News, the Jets would not block Morton from moving if Gruden gets the job, and Morton wants to follow him to Vegas when the Raiders are expected to begin playing in 2016. Now, the only thing I find uncomfortable about this is that, okay, I personally have not been, and this is what I'm getting at as far as Gruden and what kind of offense he would bring to the Raiders. I'm not sold on what Morton did with the Jets because a lot of the time it was predictable. But also, this is a case of, well, I'm going to hire my friends rather than, hey, let's go out there and see who's doing what that's innovative and really give something special to the Raiders because the Raiders and the Raider fans in particular deserve it. So that's my first ding of concern, all right? It's kind of like, well, I got a friend who's a white guy who, was with the Jets and he did a good job over there with a team that didn't go to the playoffs. I'm not sold on that. So immediately I'm like, okay, well, this tells me what I need to know. Gruden and John Morton, you got a great season for Derek Carr. Why? No. I mean, if it was, oh man, I'm not seeing that. Okay? I'm not. Why not? I'm not seeing that. I just, why not the guy who's the head, why not the offensive coordinator for the Cardinals, okay, that has done such a great job with Carson Palmer in that offense? I mean, I'm not seeing this. Yeah, no. So again, not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. Someone's going to have to talk me down off of that one. Kevin KD says, one thing's for sure, Derek is sure better than David. Yeah, well, okay. Kurt says, well, he sure did get out a lot about Josh. Where was Josh before? Melvin Lovejoy said, did Mark Davis win the lottery? Where is he getting all this extra money from? I'm confused by all the decisions he's made lately. Let me tell you how I think this came about, okay? And this is Mark Davis fashion. This is why you really need to temper your expectations regarding this whole business of what Gruden might do and all this stuff, okay? It's this. And it's this, all right? Mark Davis has the wonderful tendency of making big pronounced statements almost off the cuff, and then maybe it's a little bit more than what he intended, but it always comes at a time of emotional stress. And I'll give you an example. 2015, Ritz-Carlton in San Francisco, the press is already on him about what it looked like and was the Raiders working behind Oakland's back and talking with first Carson, and then of course later sent Las Vegas, right? So here we have Mr. Davis, Mark, standing, myself, Mike Silver, the Raiders' great PR guy, Will Kiss, standing over here, and we're near the elevator at the Ritz-Carlton, and I said to Mark Davis, hey, you should start your own task force to start a stadium, and Mark says, what's that, you know, and I started to explain, and then in the middle of my explanation, this is what Mark does. You come up with a stadium plan. And I said, what? He goes, you come up with a plan. I looked at Silver, who was standing in front of me, I said, and Silver's looking at, you know, Davis, and I said, say that again. He goes, you come up with a plan, send it to Will Kiss over there. And I said, okay, I did. And Silver put it out on Twitter, says I was there, a moment of zenny. I went to work, I got Piper Jack, I built a spreadsheet that some of you may, I don't think I showed you that one. It was a really complex spreadsheet, but I'm happy to do so one day. But, no, actually I did. But it was way back, before live stream. Anyway, I had got a conference call with Piper Jaffray, investment banker that has done over 100 stadium deals. They blessed the spreadsheet. And I think the thing went further than Mark thought it was going to go. He has this tendency, when he's stressed, to make a big pronouncement, a big thing, right? And all of a sudden it sends everybody scrambling. Wah! Okay? And what I believe in this case is he says, I'm going to get Gruden. Because he's like, God, this season's going to pot. I'm really upset about it. I've got to do something to get myself out of it. He's like P.T. Barnum in that way. And it's kind of an endearing quality, all right? So he says, I'm going to get Gruden. And all of a sudden it takes on a life of its own. And in the middle of saying that, he's not thinking about Rooney Rule. He's not thinking about Del Rio's feelings. He's not even thinking about the fact that he signed him to a new 6-month contract. He's not thinking. It's the same thing that got us into this Vegas mess. If you're wondering, Crawford, where he's getting all this money from, this is Mark Davis' style. It is his style, okay? And his style is to make a big pronouncement and an earth-shaking decision, and then let reality take care of itself. This is yet another example of that. And that's why I'm explaining to you, you should really temper your expectations with this. It's one thing to see text, okay, written somewhere. But until you see John Gruden himself speak and say, I have been offered the job of the Raiders and I accept, or you hear the Raiders make an announcement, as they said on their website, until that happens, I would simply temper my expectations. All right? And I'm also personally not excited about this whole Johnny Morton thing. I'm just saying. Okay? So, there you go. Melvin Lovejoy, you are the man. Corvette says, Mark Davis going Billy Abel the Raiders. Dean Nas says, Mark Davis, he will broke when moves to Vegas if. Kurt Flair says, Gruden already chosen how he wanted to build his team. I bet you they already had Gruden choose like a month ago. John Mark says, John, how are you doing? He says, that's the only thing Mark Davis is good at, shooting his mouth off. Melvin Lovejoy says, did Mark Davis win the law? I got that one. So, Melvin, I hope that answers your question. And Kevin KD says, tell me about it, Melvin Lovejoy. Yeah, it's wild stuff. Ed Reed says if if Gru comes back, will he hire someone similar to Willie Shaw's philosophy as defensive coordinator? You know, I certainly hope so. And I did like Willie Shaw. Yeah, I certainly hope so. Yeah, I think Mark Davis really ought to shoot for the moon and get David Shaw from Stanford. That's the guy. That's the guy who would turn the Raiders around like that. You say you get David Shaw, I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. I'm serious. I'm serious. David Shaw is friggin' smart. And he knows how to motivate players, okay? He knows how to win. He is Stanford's winningest coach, even over the legendary Glenn Pappy Waldorf. You understand that? I mean, you can pry him loose from Stanford and get him to come across the bay. You're doing something. John Gruden, David Shaw, definitely. That'll be modern. That'll be freaking huge. So I'm telling you, Mark Davis ought to say he ought to add David Shaw to his list. In fact, I might even text him that. You know, say, you know what? I think you ought to take a look at David Shaw if Gruden doesn't work out. Just saying. Just saying. Kevin KD says, to be honest, I don't wish for Davis to fail. No, not at all. He's probably one of the most likable owners in the NFL. Definitely likable. But he needs to stay put. He should not copy Spanos. Kurt Fleur says that might not be a bad idea either. Adam Schefter said on ESPN an hour ago, Gruden will be the Raiders head coach. Yeah, I know he said that. We talked about that before you came. E-Rise Callie. And he says that Mark doesn't make a bold move unless you know. And I'm like, okay, we've covered all that. Eric Tolliver says, Zenny, the reason you don't see any respect for the Rooney Rule is the same reason you're not in charge of all sports operations in Oakland. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. It's called racism. Anyway, Nathan DeGeorge says, who's your top 3 for D coordinator? Todd Grantham, Melvin, I forgot Mel's last name. He was with the Bears at one point. I believe now he's with Alabama. Forgot his last name. He'd be a fantastic defensive coordinator. Todd Grantham would be a great one. And my third defensive coordinator choice. Let's see here. Those are 2. Number 3, I'm not really sold on any of the current folks around. So I'm going to pick those 2. I'm going to pick those 2. Okay? So, yeah, I'm going to pick those 2. Alessandro De Silva. Oh, you know what? Derek Mason would be a great defensive coordinator. He's the head coach of Vanderbilt. But I don't know if he'd want to leave Vanderbilt to be DC at the NFL level. But he was DC at Stanford before being head coach at Vanderbilt. And that depends on how much you offered him. But I think Derek Mason would make an outstanding defensive coordinator. De Silva says, Zenny for GM, you got my vote. Happy New Year. Hey, Happy New Year to you too. What about Chargers to Vegas? Regardless of who it is, Vegas has some deep-seated economic issues that need to be worked out. Avatar Gaming says it's official. Just in, Raiders and Gruden officially lock on terms pending NFL owner approval or deal. Let me see that. Let me see what's going on here. John Gruden. Okay. So, we have here. Still have Raiders. Let's see the latest on Twitter here. John Gruden right now assembling his staff. Kawakami, John Gruden, it's not set yet. It says Tim Kawakami, John Gruden back to Raiders. It's Mark Davis trying to fix his father's greatest mistake. It was a mistake. And see, right now these are all rumors swirling, but that is not certain at all. Let's see here. Somebody says, blank John Gruden, unless this is some strategy Colts the Vols. It is, isn't it? Oh, let's see here. Yeah, it's all guessed, okay? It's all a guess. This is all a guess. And I don't see that there's nothing at all to support what you said, all right? These are all still rumors. Sorry about that. And I hope you know that when you come to my channel and you avatar and you make a statement like that, you will be corrected like that. And if you keep pushing it, you might be blocked. So, avatar, you don't know that it's in the works because it's not there. Unless you want to tell me the link or show me the link, because I looked and I haven't seen it. All right. So, would you admit that's something you just sort of came up with? I'm just saying, admit that. Now, all right. Nathan DeGeorge, yeah. All right. Kurt first says, Zinni, if you were to get into football, what position would you take? Offensive coordinator. Or general manager. General manager. General manager. Definitely. Keeping ties, don't know that. So we've got, got it. Okay. It is 9:22. Wow, it's 9:22. All right, folks, it's 9:22. It's New Year's Eve. And I'm visiting my folks. I'm going to go and, shut it down now. It's been great. It's been fun. Hey, Kurt, thanks a lot. Eric Madison says, John Gruden reportedly will be named head coach after Jack Del Rio firing shared other. Yeah, I know, Eric, that's all it is. Reportedly. There's a lot of reportedlys going on. The one thing that I can report to you that's going to happen, we're going to have a new year in about 2 hours plus. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you. Happy New Year, Nathan. Happy New Year, Kurt. Happy New Year, Rick Rice. Happy New Year, Eric. Happy New Year, Crawford, Corvette, Kevin KD. Don't see John Marks. Happy New Year, John Marks. Steve Macy. There are a lot of people on here tonight. Love, peace, and soul, brother. That's right. Benjamin. Happy New Year, Benjamin. Definitely. Happy New Year, Aaron Blaylock. The soothsayer. Happy New Year, Eric. Kevin. You can bet your last money. It's all going to be a stone gas, honey. It's also, or maybe I should say a cold gas. But anyway. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And definitely Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And hey, go Georgia against Oklahoma tomorrow. Woo-hoo. Happy New Year, Dinez. Happy New Year, Melvin Lovejoy. Happy New Year. Where's Maurice when you need him? Eric Tolliver. Everybody. Happy New Year. Who am I missing here? Anybody that's on here who hasn't tweeted, Lawrence Bob, Happy New Year, who hasn't tweeted, who hasn't chatted, who hasn't written anything, but you're watching, I say Happy New Year to you. And we'll see you, yes, hashtag stay in Oakland. Possible Black Monday show, definitely Tuesday night. I'll have my special guest. I'll do an early update, kind of like this, on New Year's night, all right? A short Black Monday show to give some updates. But Tuesday night, we're back with my guest, AP Statham, who is the beat writer for the Alabama Crimson Tide. So we're going to have a lot to talk about, AP and me and you. No Vegas, that's right. Do a vlog in the cold, says Crawford. I might do that. Hey, Pop says hi. All right, man. Wait a minute, Robert Bob is your dad? Lawrence? Oh, man, give Mr. Bob, tell your dad I am way overdue to call him. I will call him this week. Your dad is a god as far as I'm concerned. A great guy, great man. I've learned a lot from him, and I am overdue for a phone call. You're blessed to have Mr. Bob in your life. Great guy. All right. Hey, yep. Thank you. All right. I appreciate that, Lawrence Bob. Lawrence Bob, folks, on here is the son of Robert Bob, the famed Oakland city manager, Oakland city administrator who tabbed me to run the effort to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland when no one else believed in me. And we came to within 8 NFL votes of bringing the 2005 Super Bowl to Oakland. We lost to Jacksonville, but we would have done a better job than Jacksonville. All right, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Bob. Thanks, Lawrence Bob. Oh, and then, by the way, after that, Robert Bob, his dad, went on to bring the Expos to Washington. They are now the Washington Nationals. He built the stadium for the Nationals. If you ever watch, so Robert Bob is legendary. He's another African-American government elected official who does not get the accolades he deserves, even though he does have them. He's he's recognized by other city managers, but in the general public, unless you go back and look at the Detroit fiscal crisis where he came in and helped fix, a lot of people don't know who Robert Bob is, but you should. Robert Bob was the other person who came this close to getting a downtown baseball stadium in Oakland, but Jerry Brown fired him because he wanted to do that. I mean, if you're going to get fired for something, that's a good thing to get fired for, right? Oh, wow. Glad to see you, Lawrence Bob. Tell Mr. Bob I said hi. Merry Christmas. Well, belated Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, everybody. I'll see you guys. Crawford, yeah. Crawford says, hail Robert Bob, we need to build a stadium in Oakland. We sure do. We sure do. Nathan Barrett says, Gruden isn't going to the Raiders. People just be real. This is going to be interesting. All I got to say is watch out for the Bucks. Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks again. See you guys. Thank you. See ya.